back to 10 Count. I'm your host, Steve Kim, joined as always by the institution, Ken Miller of the LA Sentinel, and RingTV's Doug Fischer. Guys, Mayweather Pacquiao. For the people, of the people, by the people. What a crock, huh, Ken?
Well, you might be one of those reporters, and you might be one of those
Us?
reporters
Really?
who are jumping up and down and said, oh, I got approved to the press conference.
I know. That is
and then you got your confirmation for this press conference that's going to take place on the 11th of March for those in our audience.
Yeah.
You got your confirmation on the 10th.
Yeah.
That's what they think of you. And I got news for you. People have been hailing this event as the one event that's going to put boxing over the top. But if the NFL or Major League Baseball or NBA had an event of this magnitude and said, you, the American public, you're not allowed to buy tickets to this, all of you guys who've been covering us and uplifting our sport for all of these years, we're going to cut you in half. In fact, we'll invite you out, but we're going to put you in a ballroom
That's what they're doing.
and give you some hot dogs and have you watch this on a big television set. They'd be calling the Attorney General. Blacks would be calling for the Urban League and the NAACP.
Who would I call? Koreatown? The Koreatown Mafia?
Yeah,
I don't know.
You wouldn't call the Koreatown Mafia. You'd call Herb Wesson.
Yeah,
You know,
okay.
Herb Wesson, the councilman of the 10th District, all of Koreatown.
Well,
so you would call him.
Give me his number when we're done.
Yeah, I will get you his number.
Doug.
And it would be all kind of crying, because how can you have an event and say, look, you just pay, but you can't come?
Doug, is this event so big, quite frankly, they don't need us or the real fan?
That's what they feel. They don't feel that they need us. They feel that this is the attitude that I'm getting from this promotion, is that basically boxing fans have wanted it for so long that we will take it and we will buy it no matter how high the pay-per-view price is. We don't need to have a press tour across the country where the fans go face to face in every major market and are out there for the public, for fans to get what they don't need. They feel, you know what they feel? They feel that Twitter's going to advertise this, that everyone's just going to be tweeting it up and talking about it so much that they don't need to really publicize it. They don't need to do what they normally do for these so-called mega boxing promotions, and they might be right.
You know, any website with boxing or boxingterminology.com, .net, we're out. That's the bottom line. Come back to Pinoy Power. Come back to the Staples Center. Go to the StubHub. You're not going to this fight. People ripped Aram for wanting to build a stadium or having it at a bigger place. And the same fans that make fun of him then bitch that I can't get tickets. Well, this is part of the problem. Couple of things here. I don't know if we're going to get credentialed for May 2nd. I think we're all 50-50, because let's face it, we're not working for the New York Times.
I'm not 50-50.
Okay.
I'm 100%.
Okay. But
Al, I'm 100%.
But if you are forced to get an auxiliary credential, which means not even in the stands, but you're outside the arena watching it on a ballroom, will you accept that credential? I've already made the decision. I can just watch it at home and openly cheer for who I want, and then I can serve myself alcohol. That's not something I'm particularly interested in doing.
Let me give you my real life experience. I'm covering a Mayweather fight. I have a credential. I walk into the media room and realize that the credential that I have is in the arena. It's an auxiliary seat way up in the nosebleed section. I take the credential off. I give it to Babe Rudy and everybody in the media room. I said, man, I'm not covering this, and I'm out. That's how I roll.
Doug?
And they rectified the situation.
Well, they rectified the situation.
I'm sure Scott
Gertner
with MG.
This is the institution. This is the institution.
Here's the thing, and I'm glad they rectified the situation, not for me, but for some other kid who is working his tail off to cover your event on somebody else's dime, and then you treat him like a second-class citizen. You know, I was one of 3 blacks to report football games from the Coliseum press box. The people who paved the way for me, Brock Brockenberry and Brad Pye Jr., I owe this to them. That another black kid has the same opportunity that I have, and I don't take it lightly.
But Doug, what can we do as a boxing? I'm not part of the BWAA.
Right.
And
I am.
Yeah, well, Larry Merchant, though, is incensed by the treatment that we're getting.
Because Larry's old school.
Because Larry's old school.
And in Larry's day, the boxing writers and the sports writers.
Solidarity.
There was solidarity. And they may have hated each other. They may have gotten into fistfights.
They did, actually.
They did. I know they did. But they were a fraternity. And you couldn't ban, unless you had really good reason, a promoter or a sports entity, not just boxing, you couldn't ban one of them without all of them saying, well, then we're not going to cover your event. That happened numerous times. And the promoters generally relent when there's solidarity. I don't believe there is solidarity now. I think it's changed. There's less professionalism because, let's face it, when everybody was a newspaper writer, these were professional guys. And now what the press row has become in boxing, with the internet, with the internet age, but and Steve, you and I are considered pioneers with the internet age, but we went about it as a full-time job.
And Doug, but the phrase you're looking for is barrier of entry, which simply does not really exist. But let's talk about the fans that really matter. And I hear this all the time on Twitter. I went on to call or the internet in 30 seconds. I couldn't get any ticket that I want. And
they were never available.
They were never available. They're gamed. The system is gamed against them for the scalpers to make a lot of money, or the brokers.
I hear they're still not available.
And they won't be available. And it all started in 1999, the Trinidad De La Hoya fight. No tickets were available. And
Which you and I sat out, Steve. I remember that.
Yeah.
And this is when we were young and starting. It used to be really exciting to travel to Las Vegas and cover a huge event, which is what that was. But on general principle, and we both knew we were going to be auxiliary, but we still could have covered it. We didn't go, and I'm telling you, I don't want to go to May 2nd. I mean, I've been done with Mayweather for years, and even though this is a huge event, and who knows, maybe the fight will be compelling, I don't know, I still don't want to deal with the media cluster F that's going to be.
Or let's face it.
And the disrespect.
Yeah.
I don't like being disrespected.
You know, it's funny. I didn't get into this business. I didn't become a writer to become a star. I became a writer so that I could cover the stars.
Right.
And it was my responsibility to uplift those who I was covering. And I think a lot of times media people who want to be friends with fighters, who wants to be friends with the subjects that they cover, they get caught up into that.
Yep.
And it's a dangerous and slippery slope, even if it's a promoter.
Yeah.
And I consider Don King a friend, okay? But even if it's a promoter, it's a very dangerous and slippery slope. And I'll tell you, I'm going to cover this event, again, because I got a responsibility to cover it. It's not so much about me.
It is about our audience. It's about the readership.
It's about the readership. And they are not going, many of my readers are not, you know, they probably can't afford $100, you know, for this fight. They'll watch it somewhere. But it is what it is.
And the final point is, I know other events, Final Four, World Series, specifically the Super Bowl, very few tickets are actually available, face value to the public. The difference, it's not on pay-per-view, and that's an important distinction. Okay, that's it for this edition of 10 Count. On behalf of Doug Fischer and Ken Miller, this is Steve Kim saying till the next round, goodbye, everybody.